Cinema Night podcast with three people who host a show in the beginning. And now they're back. It's 2024. It's a new opportunity. And I'm here. Myself, Michael, Travis, Eric. Yeah, it's episode 179. And today's focus is going to be on Benny and Joon, which was selected by Travis a long time ago. Right, Travis? Whenever that was.
Moons. Many moons.
Many moons. We got Eric in the candlelight, feeding his child. He's such a good dad and a podcaster. Thanks for making time for us, Eric. We appreciate it.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening to you, sir.
Tender Eric Brandstrom on the microphone. Let's all get tender. Get tender. I'm excited, man. I took December off, and I'm excited. I am jacked. I'm ready to go do podcasting. I've got the fever. I finally got my setup proper.
Didn't you actually take also the end of November and the beginning of January off?
That's 2 months.
Well, it's January 10th. I mean, it's not like.
I'm just saying.
But first off, I told you this in the text. I don't regret taking the first week of January off at all because America, get back to work. Let's go. A day after New Year's, get your asses to work. Fuck that shit.
I enjoyed my first 2-week break, my actual 2 full weeks off in years. So I'm not judging you. I'm just saying.
Here.
It wasn't just December.
So I was dreaming of and counting the seconds until my 2-week break from school. All the things I was going to do, draw, I was going to write music and make my movie.
And you got
Angela
sick.
gets COVID immedially. Both of my
course.
kids get RSV.
Oh my God.
And I didn't do anything but caretake. But I mean, everyone's healthy now.
Good.
But I was I had to really bite my tongue quite a few times. I was like, oh my God, no break.
There's never a break.
Everyone got healthy Sunday, the day before I went back to work.
Come on. Well, I feel for you. I'm glad everyone's okay and life goes on. I'm excited about my new setup here. It's finally organized. I can't believe I lived this long without this. I got a green screen stand. This thing is awesome. It's portable. And it's got those snappy metal rods where you can you snap stuff in when you're making a table or something.
Sure.
And you can take it down easy. It doesn't fall. And I got my lighting in. I'm just so happy that I've got my mom's gone till May, so this is my house for 5 months. So I feel like for 5 months, I'm going to be able to be myself, which is great.
Happy.
It's very. I'm also a 43-year-old man. That is correct.
Yes, so, that's great.
I'm so happy today. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. Also, Tim Govier got me this nice little bouncy. It's like a shock-proof mount. It's really nice. Thank you, Tim Govier, for that. Yeah, that's what he got me for Christmas. Thank you, Dad. The Catholic gives to the Jew. Hey, great gift, Dad. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to go now. I know last year, for those of you that listen to the show regularly and also watch our videos, yes, I will be returning to posting the videos on YouTube. We'll get back to that now. That's way behind.
Oh, yeah, that's way behind.
I think the last one on that was Search and Destroy, and that was 10 episodes ago. So.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
But I'm ready to go. And also,
all right.
I don't know if you guys did this inadvertently or not, but we had emails. Did you guys see these?
I never went to check them.
Well, okay, so we'll do these quickly. So this one's from Joe, and this one's November 23rd, 2023.
Sorry,
it's Joe Lowry. Joe, who was on Travis's Music Pod 93-94, did fucking Pennywise. Nice job, Joe.
Yeah, Joe came on to 93-94, a music podcast with Travis Roy, and talked 1993's Unknown Road, and he was really well versed in their history and stuff. It was cool.
He could have been friends with us in high school, or we could have been friends with him.
I mean, yeah, he definitely would have fit right into our crew. I'm pretty sure.
That's what I'm glad to have that confirmed because I felt the same way about Joe. Hey guys, great to hear you guys back at it with a new podcast episode on the feed. Yep, there it is.
Lower your expectations, Joe.
2024. In your quarantine viewing section, I had the exact same experience as Travis with Old Dads. I really enjoy Bill Burr's comedy and used to regularly listen to his podcast. I was excited to throw on Old Dads and didn't make it more than 5 minutes into the movie before turning it off. Wow.
God, I really made it. I made it 20, so I feel better.
Went back to it a week later, got another 5 minutes further, and turned it off for the second time. I would assume you guys hold a similar opinion, or perhaps it's universal, but good comedies feel so much harder to make than any other movie genre, and this feels like another example of that axiom. Cheers, Joe Lowry.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. I mean, it's that and dramas, sometimes people think, well, if I put sad things in there, then I have a drama. It's like, well, no, actually, some balance is good. But yeah,
yeah, I think people our age, especially, the way comedies were made in the 80s, the 90s, and even the 2000s, and what comedies are today. First off, it's just not as relevant anymore. Like gross out comedies, like raunchy comedies, those are gone. Not that they were all good. Not that they were all good. I like some of them though. Like to me, I still, well, actually, I should bring that to the show. American Pie, I thought was funny because it was high school. Kids do dumb shit in high school, but I don't know. Maybe I got to see Old Dads to comment on this because I haven't seen it yet.
See if you can make it through it anyway.
You're right. I should fire that up. And then, so Luke came on during my long hiatus, and he did Gremlins, which was a legendary show that Eric Brancham said was the greatest show in cinema history. Is that true?
I did. Yeah, I did.
The whole thing
Comrade Luke came on.
The proletariat Gremlins. It's so funny, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you missed that,
I'm laughing at that.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, it was a different take on Gremlins. I hadn't heard it, but our pal Chad, who used to do the best film podcast with Travis, shout out to that.
Shout out.
Hey guys, I enjoyed the Gremlins shows. This is Chad saying that. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but I loved how Luke became an actual gremlin during the show about gremlins. It started off somewhat innocently with the loudest baby monitor in existence sitting right next to Luke's microphone. Interrupting anything anyone said. After 15 minutes of being perplexed about where the noise is coming from, Luke wonders aloud if I could possibly be the 1,000 decibel jet engine revving right beside him. Oh, Chaz, it's funny. The hijinks continue as Luke gets frustrated with Joe Dante for not corroborating his Gremlins working class hi-ho, it's off to work we go theory, and wondering why nobody is talking about it. As Travis and Eric do their best just to ignore him, the gremlin gets more rambunctious, mocking the working class for seeing other people as animals, while himself seeing the working class as gremlins. The episode reaches its climax with Luke in full gremlin mode, denouncing suicide hotlines.
That did happen.
Yes, it did.
And screaming out the digits to his personal phone number in a fit of apparent mania. Oh my God. Yeah, that's so funny. Great meta episode. Luke was a perfect gremlin, whether he realizes it or not. Bummed about Reds, though, was looking forward to hearing Luke explain how it was actually about the faked moon landing.
Yeah, right.
Sincerely, Meta Gremlins.
I thought he was going to say, I thought it was going to be about gremlins.
Oh, that might be the best email we've ever had. That was really funny. Thanks, Chad.
Cheers.
Oh, hey, Chad, Meta Gremlins Part 2. Hey, guys. This one's shorter. It's more brief. Hey, guys, I intended the previous email as a tongue-in-cheek joke, but I'm concerned it came across as mean-spirited. Seemed funny as I wrote it. Chad, it was hilarious.
He's feeling bad. Repentance.
As soon as he pressed send, he's like, oh, shit.
Email regrets.
Yep.
Thanks, Chad. That was great, man. Oh, man, you still got it. And then finally from Dave Horning. This was 6 days ago. This is fresh, fairly fresh.
Sort of.
Back catalog. Hello. As I may have mentioned before, I have been diligently listening through your back catalog of movies that I have seen. My latest listen was Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, we did that one.
That's a long time ago.
That got me thinking about the last time I wrote in and suggested that y'all should do The Fountain. Besides being miffed that you berated me after expressing my love for you in the show, I was more puzzled than that none of you had seen The Fountain. Is that true? All three of us haven't seen it?
Yeah, I saw it, hated it, almost turned it off. It sucked.
I after the episode, I noticed on Letterboxd that I checked that I had seen it. I'm like, well, maybe I have seen it. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. I'm going to have to watch it again and find out.
Yeah, I'm on Letterboxd too. We should connect.
We should.
I did it after Joe Lowry emailed the show about it. So, after hearing you all gush about Requiem, I can't believe that none of you paid attention to Aronofsky's follow-up to that movie. It's right in the middle of the run of his greatest films, and in my opinion, it stands shoulder to shoulder with those. Do yourselves a favor and check it out. Is he talking about The Wrestler?
Is he talking about the fucking Wrestler? One of the
because we love The Wrestler.
Talking about The Fountain.
No, the one after that, right?
He said the follow-up to the Fountain.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
You must be talking about,
the
Fountain is
yeah.
the follow-up. Okay, yeah. I got
After hearing you all gush about Requiem, I can't believe that none of you paid attention to Aronofsky's follow-up, which is the Fountain. Cheers, Dave. Sorry, Dave. I'll watch it?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right, cinemanipod@gmail.com if you want to chime in. All our emails are updated. We probably won't have any for another 6 months, but it was great to have 4. And that means it's time to get to quarantine viewing picks with Travis Roy.
You guys, it was a 2-week break, then another week after that.
Waves.
We could do the whole episode just about my quarantine viewing picks at this point. I mean, I watched so many.
I've been on the show 7 weeks, so I could probably top you.
Well, also Betty and June's pretty short. We probably won't have that much to say about it. We can get into this a little bit. I will cut out my Christmas movies though, because we're well past that. I checked out Saltburn from this year. If you haven't heard much about it, you may have heard that it's derivative of Talented Mr. Ripley, and boy, it sure is.
Oh,
but it's still really good. It's still really good. Really good performance from Gary Cogan. Definitely, he's just really rocking it in everything he does, and I think this is going to help push his star up even a little bit higher. I do recommend it. It's a little, again, you're going to be like, oh, I've seen this, but it's good. I checked out Maestro. Bradley Cooper. We talk about him as an actor. That dude can direct. That dude can really direct. Masterfully directed film. And I know that there was a lot of talk about the nose and all that shit. And as we sorted out on this show, I mean, Bernstein's own family has come out and said it's fine. It looks like him. It's good. Like let it go. You're making a mountain of a molehill. And the performance was outstanding. So it's one of those movies with a great performance and great directing. It gets a little listless at times, but man, I thought it was great. Critics do not seem to be loving it. It's not getting the praise I would have expected, but I thought it was solid. I thought it was a really solid biopic, and I'm surprised it's not getting as much attention as people were kind of expecting.
Snubbed at the Globes.
Yeah,
not that it matters, but
snubbed.
Yeah, fuck the Globes. We don't care about that shit here, but
no.
But still, yeah, not getting a lot of attention.
I think they're trying to rehash their image, rehab their image.
Yeah, it's
I don't care about award shows anyways. What am I doing? Why am I taking this position? It's stupid. I apologize.
We forgive you. I loved Hereditary and Midsommar.
Boy, here we go.
I tried watching Ari Aster's newest flick, Beau is Afraid, and it's a 3-hour film. I made it 2 hours in, so I really fucking tried. I really, really tried, and I hated it. I hated every fucking minute of it. What it really reminded me of was what's that other Joaquin flick? Not Indecent Proposal. We were talking about.
We'll get to that.
Inherent Vice. It reminded me of Inherent Vice.
Geez.
I mean, it was just really? So. And it reminded me, it was like Inherent Vice in part because Joaquin Phoenix, but it also reminded me a whole bunch of that Adam Sandler Safety Brothers flick. What's it called?
Oh, fucking Uncut Gems.
Yeah, Uncut Gems. Just really designed
Uncut Gems
to keep you in a state of hyper anxiety. It's just a series of vignettes designed to keep you completely like tense and it's just, I'm like, where's
Sounds
the fucking
entertaining
story? You'll probably love it. Or hate it.
I love it.
It's a love it or hate it kind of movie, for sure. So don't necessarily take my word for it. The dude is a master filmmaker. It looks great. Joaquin Phoenix obviously can act. I could see other people loving this movie, but it reminded me of like that last Charlie Kaufman film. I don't know why I can't remember any film titles today, but where like it's good filmmaking, but not a good movie. Then I just kind of like went into full holiday break mode. I watched all this new Spider-Man movie. I watched all of the Avengers movies. I watched some of my favorite movies of all time. I just got like a hard burn. I watched Joe versus the Volcano. I watched Mordecai, Road to Wellville.
I really struggled on that one. I could not guess that movie until you finally showed the suitcase one. I failed.
Oh yeah, I was sending pics to you trying to get you to guess, but yeah, you disappointed me until I gave you the really obvious one.
I disappointed myself. I love Death by Bunga Bunga.
Well, what are you gonna do? I watched Chef. That's another one of my classic faves. So that was kind of nice getting into like a deep dive of classic films. I love Willie Nelson, and the definitive treatment on him and his family band has been released on Paramount Plus. There is a 4-part miniseries, so it's really just a 4-hour documentary all about Willie Nelson's career and his life, and it's awesome. If you like Willie Nelson, if you like music history, if you like, those kind of documentaries, definitely check it out. If it's not for you, to move on. But Willie Nelson, I love him. I think he's American legend. So, Last Voyage of the Demeter. I wanted to love it. I liked it. It's hard. I mean, on one hand, it's like, what a brilliant premise to take the sequence of Dracula where they're going across the ocean and make a movie about that. On the other hand, you're watching the movie and you're like, oh well, I know how this ends. So, in some ways, some of the on the other hand, I do think, and it's not gotten great reviews, so I don't think it's going to get a sequel. I wish it would get a sequel by the end of the film, and I don't think this is a spoiler, because if you're familiar with Dracula vampire stuff, typically they go from kind of a wasted visage until they feed, and then they become like more human, full whatever. And so by the end of the film, like the vampire that you're looking at is one of the better Draculas I've seen on film. Just really scary, really, really good. And I would love to see a sequel to this movie, to be honest. Just continue the wherever where the Dracula buck picks up, just pick up there. It'd be awesome. But that's probably not going to happen. Checked out the first Purge from 2018 because it was the only one of the Purge movies I haven't seen. One of the weird franchises. That's the 4th movie. I swear that franchise just gets better and better with each film. It's really bizarre. I like the first Purge quite a bit. Heavy-handed satire, but good. And I think that's about it. I'm going to give my main shout out to The Holdovers. I don't want to build up the film too much because it's getting a lot of buzz, and it's a very low-key movie. It's a very chill, very relaxed, very slice of life kind of movie. It reminds me of Wonder Boys or something like that. It's not as good as Wonder Boys. Of course, it's not as good as Wonder Boys. But
not for you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know that it would be for most people, but I mean, it is a very good film. I do recommend it. It's streaming on Peacock right now if you have that. And
I have that.
Yeah, it's certainly worth checking out.
I love Alexander Payne.
He's a good one.
I don't have Peacock, or we already would have been watched, so I guess I'll just have to make other arrangements, which I will.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis. Great to hear your recommendations. It's been a while, so I enjoyed that. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I've been out of the game for several weeks now, so I had a lot of time to catch up on some stuff, starting with the latest David Fincher film, The Killer. Travis, I know you were lukewarm on The Killer. And
I haven't watched it.
Oh, you hadn't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Well, you kind of have. If you've seen every other movie about an assassin, you've kind of already seen it, because that's very derivative. Wow. It's very derivative, and it's like if this was his first movie, Fincher's first movie, you'd be like, oh man, this guy has somebody to watch out for. This is interesting. But him putting this out now is like a tepid first episode of a series that might last 2 or 3 seasons. It's just like, who cares? I hate to say it, but it's kind of like, who cares? Entertaining, but it's kind of like, who cares? Yeah, man, Asteroid City. I don't know what came over me. I don't know why I pushed play, because I've been so pissed off at Wes Anderson, but I hit play.
And you loved it.
To.
You didn't love it.
It was incredible, right?
I thought about turning it off after the first minute. I was like, I can't do this. Immediately they're doing the play, all the characters are just spouting that fucking stupid nonsense. And I'm like, I can't do this. But I stuck with it. Then I kept checking my watch. Every 20 minutes or so, I'd be like, God, I got to turn this off. I got to turn it off. But I couldn't, just because I wanted to commit to it. And then when it was over, I was so glad it was over, because it's just I don't understand this. I don't understand who's giving him all this money.
I'd like to chime in on this, because this is one of mine. I watched it. And
one of yours?
What do you think?
Yeah. I know exactly how you feel in the beginning. I was like, oh fuck, man.
We're doing this again.
And I liked the French Dispatch. You guys did not like it at all. No. I liked the French Dispatch. So I was willing to give it more time, but I felt the same way you did in the beginning. Okay, it was hard for me it kind of hurt my eyes. The colors were so vibrant. Did you notice that? I don't know what camera techniques or what the filters they were using. I was like, oh my, this is like too bright. My rods are hurting.
Yeah. You know, like when Three Kings did like the oversaturated shit. Like picture that, but like you're wearing like 3D glasses while watching that. Like that's how like, bright this desert is for no reason.
I come away from this even less likely to watch the movie now.
Well,
someday I will.
I think that I watched the whole thing, and for me, I thought it was all right. Not his best, but I didn't hate it or anything. You know, the more I got into it, I think it's kind of what I'd like to watch again and again. That's how I currently see it. But I can see the way you feel being very valid, Eric. I totally understand.
It had nothing to say. It had nothing to say. I turned it off. I'm like, what was the point of that movie? Like, it's just this very limp, yet again, of the strange father and son relationship that he's done like 5 times. And I'm just like, why do they keep giving him money? Because the production looks so elaborate and like there's nothing there on the page. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on here.
Was it weird to see Tom Hanks? Like Tom Hanks is in a Wes Anderson. Was that odd to you? Did that stand out, or did you get past that?
There was just no character there. There was no character there. Like all
these
people are just joining in, like joining the party, like for the sake of it, to be under the tutelage of an auteur. But there's just no characters. It's just a bunch of, it's just potpourri, smattering, patchwork quilt of talent with nothing to say. I was pissed. But
one thing I'll say. Oh, go ahead.
Please, no, go ahead.
Last thing about it is, I actually thought non-comedic. It was Jason Schwartzman's finest performance.
I hated him in it. I didn't believe him as a father at all. I thought he was completely miscast and fucking
I thought he sold me big time. I thought he really hit. So I was like, dull. Wow. It was dull, but I was impressed.
You don't want dull from the main character in your film. Okay. So it's over, and I'm like, I'm done. Fuck this guy. He had some great movies, but it's over. And then I saw this Henry Sugar film on Netflix.
Yeah, how was it? I've been meaning to check that one out, actually.
For some reason, I was super pissed. I turned it on immediately after Asteroid City. Like, I'm all right, I'm going to have a heart and give this guy one final chance. I turned it off after like 5 minutes. He started doing the same thing again. I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Wait, did he do 2 movies in 1 year? Am I crazy?
Yeah, the new Henry Sugar is like 40 minutes. It's a Roald Dahl adaptation, but it's just it's cloying as fuck.
It's a style. He cloys.
He cloys. Man, I checked out Indecent Proposal, Mike. I finally hit play, and I've never seen this. You talk a big game.
Beautiful woman.
Does not a good movie make.
That's true. That is true. Yes.
I mean, it's
Robert Redford. Yeah.
Awful. It's horrible. It's so bad.
Guess we won't be bringing this one to the table then, will we?
There's really no point. And Robert Redford, I'm sorry, he's got no charm. He's like the most boring guy. He's boring. He's normally very boring, but like a role like this, if you're going to be pulled away from your husband and be allured by this like Gatsby-esque character, you got to have some charm. And this guy's like a box of grape nuts. He just mumbles his lines, and there's no charm.
That's funny.
So,
I mean, Demi Moore does grab Woody Harrelson's dong. That's
yeah. I enjoyed that scene, but everything else.
He's got a boner too. It looks like too. Is that legal in today's day and age with intimacy coordinators? I feel like this movie just not.
He regretted that boner because he's huge friends with Bruce Willis. He's like, I regret that boner.
He wrote a letter.
Yeah, he posted an ad in Variety and apologized.
Retraction.
For the boner. 2-page ad in Variety. I'm sorry for that boner.
I thought it was gonna be like inside the actor's studio or something, just like a heartfelt admission.
Yeah,
Dead Ringers, 1988. I haven't seen this in like 25 years. I went back because it's on Tubi. This is the weirdest fucking goddamn movie. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I watched it like a year or two ago.
It's like while I'm watching, I'm like, man, this is really good. Your man's is good in it. And then like when it was over, I was like, I haven't felt like this in a long time. I was like, just felt gross and cheap and used. It was just like an ugly experience.
Love Cronenberg, man. I mean that's that to me is when a bit of a he's got like a bunch of great horror movies, and then that one comes out and it's like
more body. And I'm watching it with Angela, and she nails it yet again. She's like, I bet David Cronenberg wants to kill people, but he's like appeasing and purging his nature to want to murder and dissect people by making movies about that. I'm like, you might be onto something, because he's really fascinated with internal human beings. It's very strange.
The body.
Salt and Sea, 2002. I hit play because it's been a long time. I remember liking this movie. It's a big deal in 2002.
I've thought about it for the show a few times. How was
horrible.
It's awful.
Shit. It sucks.
Cancel that.
It's off. It's so early 2000s, like after Requiem and like fast cuts, like drugs, and like all that like quick shots of like the tweak and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking dumb. Bozo times, horrible. Hell Camp is a Netflix documentary about this fucking guy who got well known for like starting these wilderness trauma camps for teens that like are in need of some Beyond Scared Straight type of intervention. It's a solid documentary because this is wild, man. Like we got death, we've got abuse. It's intense, man. If you can stomach it for an hour and a half, it'll open your eyes because these things are still around. I mean, these things are still popular, and you got to watch out for them because they're not good.
No,
I'll definitely watch that.
Pretty sure that kidnapping your child and putting them through hell is
literally kidnap you. They literally take you from your home and put you in the wilderness on a 500-mile hike in 100-degree weather until you die.
I'm not getting along.
Uh-oh, he got muted. Awesome. He had a full thing to say, too. God, that's so disappointing for him. Yep. Turn it off.
He's pissed.
Go ahead, Eric.
Mike, after that, I watched Super Mario Brothers on Netflix, and I got to tell you, man, I loved it. I loved it. It's a lot of fun, man. I have my
This is the new animated one, right?
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's fun.
It's a lot of fun. That's it, man. That's it.
All right, I got to watch it then too. It kind of reminds me. Remember when that side scroller came out for the Wii in like 2008? Mm-hmm. It was awesome. So maybe I loved it.
It's really fun.
I'm down.
It's really fun.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Eric. I mentioned Asteroid City, or Eric did. Travis, I got to watch Defending My Life, the documentary of Albert Brooks.
All right, finally.
Of course, I enjoyed it.
Of course you did.
And of course I did. Also, he's kind of, I feel like he's really changed a ton. You talk about a guy who's, maturation is part of human development, right? We're not the same people we were when we were 16. And he clearly, seeing some of those earlier clips of him doing the whole shtick with the pot, the whole thing he did, the things he wouldn't do to be famous or funny, and who he is now. He's so low-key now. He's so relaxed. And I think that was really offered up in Drive. When he did Drive in 2011, that character, it's a good character, and he's definitely putting on some top-notch acting there. But that's also, he's not the cruel part of it, but like the kind of more relaxed Albert Brooks, the chill Albert Brooks, that's him now. And of course, he's like fucking 80 years old. But.
Yeah. I don't think it's just that either. Like a lot of his younger stuff is about like the insecurity of trying to like be validated in fame, because he's like around all of these, famous comedians and stuff. And he's like,
I learned about his dad. Yeah. I didn't know how famous his dad was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Park Your Carcass.
Yeah, Park Your Carcass.
Legendary death. Legendary Hollywood death.
That was wild, man. That was crazy.
That alone is worth watching the documentary for. If you're not familiar with the death of Park Your Carcass, that's it's incredible. But he also was really insecure about his love life and stuff, right? So, and he didn't really get married until he was like 50 or late 40s or something like that. So the Albert Brooks that we have now, he's a very much more confident and relaxed individual.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't know anything about his father. I mean, I knew a lot about his brother. So learning of what the things that Rob Reiner is the de facto kind of narrator, director of this thing, and they're good friends, long time. And Carl Reiner being his, I didn't know that either. And the things Carl Reiner said about a young Albert Brooks, which they're not made up, they're verbatim from his own autobiography, right? Very, very cool. Really, I'm really glad I got to watch it. I'll probably watch it again, see if I can take out some more things from it.
It's like some of the last of the classic Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But not like shitty classic Hollywood.
Yeah, like good classic Hollywood.
Quality, solid stuff being done, relationships that are not based on, assaulting people and things like that. There's a few things that happen in old Hollywood that were good, guys. It's not all scumbags, although
still a lot of nepotism, but comedy.
Nepo babies are in though now. Apparently, it's all the rage.
It's always been a thing. It's fine. It's in every fucking. It's in every industry.
Liked it.
It's in every industry. I mean,
you're gonna complain about Michael Douglas? Come on.
Yeah, you want to complain about what's the that lawyer Bernstein, right?
Sam Bernstein.
Yeah, Sam Bernstein.
Oh, yeah.
If
Get the Bernstein advantage.
And now we all grew up with the Sam Bernstein, just him. Now we got 4 of his fucking kids to look at.
Yeah, my lawyer. I got
Sam's
$16,000 from Sam Bernstein.
I think Sam is. Yeah, I think Sam may have Alzheimer's or something. I think he's on the outs.
He's like 102 or something.
He's gone.
But my point being,
I was always a Call Lee guy. Call Lee.
Call Lee free?
come on. But Jeffrey Feiger. You gonna call Jeffrey Feiger?
Call Lee free.
Yeah.
Feiger never advertised in those wars. This is like the early 90s, late 80s, Lee Steinberg versus Sam Bernstein wars. And I think Sam won, but I was always a Lee Steinberg guy.
Lee's the underdog, though. I'd give him a call.
He was.
Toll free.
Call Lee for free. Oh, shit. If you didn't live around here, that's not going to make any sense to you.
Yeah.
So I watched Asteroid City. I watched this stupid-ass I think as more time goes on, and I wish he could have been alive for it, I think Rodney Dangerfield will get more respect as an actor. I really do. After what I saw in 94's Natural Born Killers, I was like, wow, I mean, he was fucked up, but he did a great job. And I watched a stupid movie, Easy Money, with Joe Pesci and Rodney Dangerfield.
Come on.
And the petter-ass Jeffrey Jones. I mean, it's like so dumb. I'd never seen it.
I like that movie.
I liked it too. I liked it. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
It was so dumb. That's all I'm going to say. It's dumb. If you want to just turn on
80s
off
comedy.
the wall, high drinks, bozo, 80s comedy, like rated R too. It's a rated R comedy. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who had just came on the year before with Fast Times, plays the daughter. Yeah. And that guy, you know what I'm talking about, Travis? That guy's the guy who's the husband, that face, that guy.
I can't remember.
Another face.
He's got a face?
Ray Wise?
I'll pull up No, not Ray Wise. I know Ray Wise. I'll pull up a picture of it and show it to you, but he's that guy. He's the same guy who plays the mailman in Better Off Dead, who comes up to the door to ask Lane if he can go out with Beth. That guy. That guy's face.
Oh, that's Nelson. I know his name. Blanco Nelson. What's his name? Nelson.
Something like that.
Blanco
Nelson. But that guy.
Negroni.
Everybody.
What's his name?
Everybody knows this guy's face.
Yes,
I swear.
He was in Gunshine. He's been in tons of stuff.
Oh, Taylor Negron.
Taylor Negron.
Yeah.
Yep, Taylor Negron. Okay.
If
Google his face, if you're listening to this, you'll know him for sure.
Yes, you've seen Taylor Negron's face in a million 80s and like 90s movies because he was just one of those guys.
He was. I never do this. I never do this, but I actually signed up for Apple TV. I paid for a month. I did, or at least I signed up for a month for real.
Good. You can catch up on the morning show.
Well, here you go. I watched season 3 of the morning show, knocked it out. Finally did season 3 of Ted Lasso with Leanne, which I promised. I waited 2 years to do that with her.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a year and a half. It was a long time.
How'd you feel?
And Ted Lasso was a great finish. It's such a good show. It's classic. It'll be an all-timer. Morning show season 3 is like
takes a while to get started, but once it gets going, I like it. It's the least good season though.
Apparently, they're making more seasons too, which blew my mind the way it ended. I went back and watched season 1 and 2 again of the morning show to remind myself of what I liked about it. And season 3, it's what it reminds me. The whole show reminds me of The Newsroom, where they bring in like real life stuff that's happened just prior to what our current time in history is. Yeah. And except according to the morning show producers, they denied that Steve Carell was based on Matt Lauer, which is insane. Because I know, dude, I read this and I'm like,
they just don't want to get
you guys.
Sued.
You even had the fucking switch of the door to close thing. Come on. It was so Matt Lauer. But
they just don't want to get sued. That's clearly Matt Lauer.
They don't want to get sued. You're right. So who cares? And it's a good show. I definitely would recommend season 3. You're right. It was solid. John Hamm's cool. And then I also watch Shrinking, which is a great fucking show.
Love it.
Love it. I love it too. I love it so much.
Makes you
see
feel
Harrison
good.
Ford in a TV show is awesome. It's
and
like he's still got it.
Peak Ford.
Yes. Get on this.
He is. Yes. This is the best Ford that we've got in like recent years. No, not phoning it in.
No.
We had this conversation about this before when I watched it earlier last year. I'm telling you, like if you like Harrison Ford at all, this is like some of the best stuff he's done in years.
Oh Jesus!
It
is. It's I found out that Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy on Ted Lasso, is the producer. So it's him and Bill Lawrence who are the producers of Ted Lasso. So you get some of that, but it's different. It's not Ted Lasso. It's just Jason Segel, by the way. He's really good in the show, and he deserves credit for that too. So,
dude, yes. Yeah.
It's a great show. Really good show. And I just kind of stumbled into it. I know you had watched it and recommended it. I just hadn't got around to watching it, but I would recommend it as well. Check out Shrinking. Good stuff. And that's it. I did turn on that fucking Spirited movie, but we turned it off after 10 minutes. So
Reds.
Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I didn't care for it.
I was like, I turned it off after 10 minutes. Even Leanne said, who's like the most optimistic person I know. She's like, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, well, you said it. We're turning this off. Sorry. Will Ferrell singing. It's a musical. I was like, oh boy, I don't know if I'm ready for this. So,
Mike,
there you go. I'll leave
you watched Reds? What's your report? You brought it to the table, said you watched it.
He didn't watch it. That motherfucker.
No, I did.
Okay.
I did watch Reds. I think Reds is a great film. I think it's I don't know why you guys were so, besides it being long.
It was also
not just
really,
being long.
Really, really dull.
It's dull.
Yeah.
It's dull. But it's
long and dull.
I think Warren Beatty can hang his hat on it for his legacy. It's like, he made that movie. It's an honest movie about trying to make communism and socialism a reality versus like having it as like an ideology if you get to live in America. Like, oh, I believe in it, but versus actually going out and doing the damn thing. It's based on a real guy. And from what I've read, that's the other thing I thought you'd like about it, Travis. It's fairly historically accurate from what I could gather. Not too much crazy shit that was off the walls with Mr. Reed, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I love that era in American history, and I really, it's cool seeing some of these people pop up in the film, and some of the stuff that they're talking about, and there's stuff that you never see on film. And that's partly what enraged me even further about it. Cause it's like, oh, you're covering this stuff that is so awesome and interesting and so rarely on film. And you're making it so fucking boring. Yeah, it's so boring because it's 3.5 hours. And as Eric said in our text thread, a lot of it is Diane Keaton just kind of surly and like staring off. And it's just like, and I don't know. I really, really hated the movie, and I kind of hated you for making me watch it.
Yeah, I'm still pissed.
So yeah, you didn't like it either, Eric.
Hated it. I mean, I was in the subject matter. Like even the talking heads, which were, oh my god, those talking heads were too much. But to like Travis said, like I guess you can make any subject like interminably boring just on your script, and that's Warren Beatty's fault because he had a huge hand in penning that screenplay. Oh man, such a
those were the real people though. It was cool to see like those real people. That was recorded in the 70s before some of them died.
That's crystal clear.
Yeah,
yeah.
And tell me that did not completely influence When Harry Met Sally, because you know that it did.
Yeah, of course. Even Ted Lasso parodied it. So, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. Maybe I'm a little too into Reds, and it's not a good movie. I think my only main issue is not being able to separate the content of what I dig about it versus the reality of watching it. And I've watched it by myself with no one around and nothing to do, so I didn't feel like I was going to be doing anything else that day. If I had other things to do that day and I tried to squeeze that movie in, I'd be pissed. I would.
Oh, Jesus.
I get that. Yeah.
It is epic. I'll give it that.
Yeah. It is epic. It certainly is. Some really cool scenes out there in the snow. I mean, they filmed some cool shots, but you're right, it's boring. I still like it. All right, so there's Reds. If you ever wondered what we thought of it, if you happen to watch it too and you were pissed that we never even discussed it, I do apologize. There you go. 5 minutes on Reds. All right. cinemanipod@gmail.com, 5-star review, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the main event, which is Travis's selection. This is a movie from the 90s, and it's called Benny and Joon.
Benny and Joon, yeah.
While I was off, Travis, I just wanted to say, I thought it was funny that you couldn't remember the order of how we did with the IMDb rating. I laughed. I chuckled. I got to laugh at your expense.
It's in keeping with my character. I pay no attention to my own life. I don't know what's happening most of the time.
Well, okay, so when was the first time you watched this movie?
I don't know. That's what I'm telling you. I don't keep track. No, I honestly can't really remember. It was definitely the kind of movie that, I saw it when it came out, when it was new. I don't remember if I saw it in theaters or not, but I know I saw it. I know I had a VHS copy of it, and I know I watched it a whole fucking bunch from like 93 to 97 or so, and then probably didn't watch it again since. It's one of those movies, like watching it recently, I'm like, shit, I can almost like speak along with certain parts.
Wow.
Because it was that familiar to me, but at the same time, I hadn't seen it in 25 years or something. So,
what about you, Mr. Bressel?
Yeah, I rented this when it came out and didn't make a huge impression on me. It's one of my wife's favorite movies, so from time to time,
really,
this is just on and on in my house.
So you have feelings about it going in.
I had feelings going in.
All right, fair enough.
Oh,
noted.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is directed by Jeremiah Chechik. Do I know anything about this guy?
I don't know. What about when you first saw it? Was this the first time you saw it?
Yeah, it's starring Johnny Depp and Mary Stuart Masterson and the beautiful Aidan Quinn. Those eyes.
This is what I'm asking you. Is this the first time you watched the movie?
So the movie with those people in it called Benny and Joon, I had never seen. And I remember hearing about this movie a lot. And in fact, for some reason in my brain, it's really messed up and locked in with Harold and Maude. I mix them up all the time. I don't know. Just because it's a name and a name title, that's it.
Milo and Otis?
Yeah, no, you're right. Milo and Otis didn't stick as much as Harold and Maude. Well, these are bands or songs, in movies as well. But
Peaches
and Cream. I never saw this movie. I'd heard a lot about it, but never saw it. But nobody told me anything about it other than this image of fucking Johnny Depp in that goddamn hat. That's all I fucking know about this movie. That's the one thing that's burned in my brain for some reason. And I go into it with a attitude of displeasure when I think of that. I do. I don't know why.
Yeah, why is this? You're a Johnny Depp fan. You don't have anything against
Johnny
hats
Depp,
in general.
Yeah, so, hats are cool.
It's so early 90s, which is funny because like what he's doing is he's hearkening back very clearly as his telegraph from the first moment we see him on film.
Hey, what's he reading?
To Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. But yeah, the hat and his whole, like everything, the fashion, it's all screams, hey, this was filmed in 92 or 93.
Oh yeah. Coming out of the 80s with the colors, but still not knowing where we're going yet in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking to the spin doctors as guidance for your fashion choices.
I got more to say about the soundtrack too. I'll come back to that. But what's the rating on this thing? So I don't know. Is this it seems like it is a beloved movie because I've heard the title a lot, but I don't know.
It's one of those movies that it was very pointed at a specific generation and a specific age group. I think like the 14 to 30 year olds in 1993. And so I think that those people probably grew up with a positive feeling about it. Yeah. That said, it's not one you hear about very much, which is partly why I wanted to revisit it. I'm going to say 6.6.
Yeah, you are right. This came out in a time when like kids didn't understand mental illness. They just thought it was eccentricity. And apparently so does the screenwriter. I'm going to give it 5.6.
I would say this is like a solid 6.2. It's not amazing, but some people throw it on and wow, it's a 7.1.
That's a surprise.
That is a surprise.
Beloved film. I'm telling you.
That's beloved. You're right. Just like your wife, Eric. I mean, she's hardcore. She loves it. Throws it on still. 85% from the audience on Rotten Bozos. 76 from the critics. Tiny gap, not a major gap. As far as critical review from the old critics, with Benny and Joon came out in 1993, right? 3? Mm-hmm. We got Peter Rayner, LA Times. This sentimental stew is not, I can't believe, have we ever heard that phrase on the show? Because I can't believe it hasn't been done before. This sentimental stew. Yeah, it feels like it would have been done before. Sentimental stew is not without its flavors. And the cast tries hard to be winsome and adorably distraught. What a combo.
Stew analogy?
Wait,
Danny Moore from the Los Angeles Times.
But then he like kind of sidetracks into like something else. He starts off with this metaphor, then just goes elsewhere. I'd also like to use the word winsome here.
Yeah, I'd like to make it a comparative. Yeah, he's off. Yeah, I don't know where he's going.
No carrots, no potatoes, no meat.
Yeah, no beef. David Anson of Newsweek said, "This fierce, smart jape gets you shaking with laughter, then leaves you simply shaking."
Oh, okay.
Shaking?
Jape? Best of the best here. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, of course. The cast is defeated. Oh, here it is. The cast is defeating by a cloying, our second cloying reference of the show. Yep. A cloying Barry Berman script that Jeremiah Chechik directs with the same flair for the obvious he brought to, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He did that. Huh? He wrote that? At least he wrote it.
No, John Hughes wrote that. He directed it.
Because it was a Columbus directed, right? Anyways, he wrote it. And then, of course, Roger Ebert, our who Luke thinks is a total piece of shit, apparently. But I think Roger Ebert, I agreed with you guys, and I was proud of the show. Eric, you really impressed me, Eric. You really stood up for Travis was going to, but Eric, I was proud of you. I really was. So.
Like, he was like starting to talk about Eames, our beloved Eames, and me and Eric are both just like, yep. Then we realize, you hate
it. And listening to this manifesto for 35 minutes, but you're gonna trash Eames. I'm speaking up.
Yeah, Roger Ebert, it was a mainstream critic, but he was an independent guy when it came to thought. I thought so. Yeah, good job.
The three of us are fans. Okay. Luke's entitled to his opinion.
He is entitled to his opinion. So Roger Ebert said, the movie suggests that love and magic can overcome madness. Oh, and for at least the length of the film, I was prepared to accept that. Much of the credit for that goes to Depp.
Yeah, he does a lot with some that moment at the end of the movie. He's like, "Well, I used to look up to you. Now I can't even look at you," which is such a shit line. Such a shit line. And he
for a guy who never says anything.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, but and you can tell the screenwriter is probably like, there it is, blistering fucking hot, and but Depp sells it. Depp takes that turd of a line and turns it into turd casserole,
turd stew.
Ooh, yay!
Yeah, we found our protein.
Winsome and distraught turd stew. I got one more for you, and we're very lucky.
Winsome stew.
Winsome shit stew. Desson Thompson.
No
way.
On
this one. Yeah.
No way.
We got Desson. Yeah. So how cool is that? This is 90s. Good job, Desson. So once upon a time, Desson Thompson said the following. Riddled with insufferably contrived zaniness, yes. It deals as deeply with mental illness as The Sound of Music explored the genocidal advance of the Third Reich. Boom!
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
That might be the best Desson Thompson.
So good.
I would nominate it as well for #1 all-time Desson review. Not as not as brief. Pretty long-winded for Desson, but so good.
Yeah, it was more than 2 words. He had a lot to say.
Yeah, Eric, he's building on what you said, Eric. How mental illness seen as eccentricity. It's like,
oh Jesus,
this movie's all over the place.
That's to get into it a little bit here, real quick. That is to me one of the things that really sticks out about this movie is that you clearly have filmmakers that are trying to express something about mental illness, but and at the same time they're trying to make it cute enough and engaging enough and marketable enough, right? And also it's 93, right? It's still pretty archaic in terms of our understanding and sympathies towards people with mental health issues. So there's times where it feels like it's actually being pretty progressive for its time, and then there's moments where it's like they really just can't, like the fucking ping pong paddle in the police, directing traffic scene. It's just like, oh, okay, so this is your idea of a crazy person. And one of the things I noted myself, like, we don't even know if she's on medication of any sort. Like, it's never expressed at all if she's on any sort of medication at all that I noticed.
Eventually they do, because
it does come up.
Benny says it's time for your meds. All we know is meds.
Oh, it does. Okay, I missed it because I was just like, Jesus.
But that's it. That's all we get. So.
It's something. And that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like they couldn't really focus on that at the time. I don't think it would have been accepted as much if it had been more true to life, which I think it's a fault of the film, but also a fault of the time period.
When your screenwriter is a former clown, as is the case with Barry Berman, who only wrote this and like 2 other pieces of shit I've never heard. We got a problem because I don't know how much research this guy did, but this is a classic, this is an overused term, but manic pixie dream girl. It's just substituted in for this Joon character. Like the illness is very, it only is like brought up when they need to have some drama in their plot. It's whimsy. I timed it. It's like whimsy for like an hour and 15 minutes. And then they're like, oh shit, something's got to happen. Let's just have a freak out here. What kind of freak out? What even is their illness? I don't know. It's just, we got to have a freak out.
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't buying it, dude.
Well, what is her illness? She's got these problems, but she goes on a bus and now she was never, is the movie telling us that, because Benny is constantly saying, you need to stay here. We are introduced to Joon with the housekeeper not being able to keep her on the property, right? So is the movie telling us that this property maintains her episodes And if she leaves the property, then we see these episodes. I mean, that is out of this world.
Yeah, that's again like where I think they needed to focus more on the meds, because like if she stopped taking her meds, that would explain what happened on the bus. And that's kind of how I interpreted it, is that since they left and ran off on their own, that she wasn't like taking the meds that she was supposed to take, and plus this extra stress and stuff. But you had to like infer all this shit, that you have to like know these things to infer them. And yeah, no,
I got another trope.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the magic of the penis. Johnny Depp makes love to her, and suddenly she's transformed. I mean, sex is cool, sure, but I think there's that trope kind of hidden in there too. Like his penis changed her life.
Have you had sex with Johnny Depp?
I never have.
Then you don't know.
Very enlightening, from what I hear.
I've heard things, some good, some questionable, but source material, I don't know. But look, yes, so it is the 90s, so we're looking at it through that scope, early 90s. She's got problems, but Benny is this. I gotta say, Aidan Quinn, man, he really gave me a different Aidan Quinn in this movie than I'd seen in other films. I mean that. I usually see him as like a.
Oh, come on.
Like, I know he's in Legends of the Fall, but he's like he's not the weakling, because Samuel's the weakling of the brothers in that one, but he's more of like the prim and proper, not the tough guy that Tristan is in Legends of the Fall. But in this movie, he's like a tough guy mechanic hanging out with Oliver Platt. And for some reason, Bill Macy shows up in 2 scenes, like the very opening scene, and then he comes back to be this guy who could be the vessel to get a career going for Sam. Anyways, I thought Aidan Quinn impressed me in this movie. I never disliked him. I've liked him in movies, but I thought I saw a different side of him, and I'd like to give him credit for that in this film.
All right. Cool.
Not me. I thought he was horrible in it. Catatonic look on his bright blue-eyed face for the entire film. Deliver his lines slovenly. Sleepwalk through every scene.
Eric. There's 2 different things going on here, okay? So Aidan Quinn's acting is excellent. Now, the character motivations and the writing are fucking stupid. Like the reason he holds back with Julianne Moore, or gets really raged out with how Joon is and how we can't let go of this life or whatever it is, it's not fleshed out enough. And it makes him look stupid when we have these wandering scenes of the music playing in the background in the train yards and shit. That's not his fault.
Yeah,
that's not his fault.
Funny. Oh. That's pretty bad. I made a note to myself. What is it? Left an age-appropriate man with my sister, and now I'm angry they fucked the movie.
Yes! That's great! Yep. You nailed it.
These two are clearly perfect for one another. Soulmates from the onset to anybody's disbelieving eyes. Yeah. I encouraged them to go back home alone while I hung out at the park. Now I'm pissed.
I literally thought, I made a note to myself, like, I think he's like leaving them space for some intimacy here.
Yes!
And then he comes back and he's
pissed.
Get out. Yeah. I mean, what the fuck? And also, we got a whole first 30 minutes of the film based around Benny and his buddies and playing poker all the time. They're just gone. God. They just disappear from the film. Like that never, okay, that part of the movie's over now. We're never playing poker again.
They serve their purpose.
It's such terrible writing. It's so bad. The organization of the strip and the structure of the film. It's so obvious to me that there's a push and pull going on behind the scenes of this movie. It's so obvious. There's too much, like a good idea gone bad, with studio execs getting in the way, with a rookie kind of newcomer movie creators. That's what I see here.
Yeah, it smacks of that. Did you catch the Lemonheads reference?
Oh, no, I didn't.
So that's who this movie is really for. There's this moment when they're in the diner and they're talking about raisins and like how sad they are. They're talking about the California raisins and how they're cannibals and stuff. And Sam, Johnny Depp's character, says, "It's a shame about raisins." That's very directed to a very specific audience.
I heard the words, but I didn't catch on to it being, I guess maybe if it was 1993, I would have been like, oh, yeah, Shame About Ray.
Right, that's it. It came out in 93. And so that's kind of what's going on here. This is, I think it's, what year was Reality Bites? That was also 93, right?
Yeah, 94 is the next year.
94? Okay, so I mean, it kind of feels like it's coming out of that machinery, that Hollywood machinery of change
being made.
Yeah, like, okay, we recognize that the people, they like Pearl Jam and Temple of the Dog, right? Pushing Forward Back makes an appearance, which I do not buy Sam listening to that album at all. At all.
No! He's obsessed with 20s culture and shit, like old-timey culture. He's not into today. He doesn't belong here.
Right. He's listening to Glenn Miller or something. He's not listening to fucking Temple of the Dog.
Glenn Miller.
Got to put him on the soundtrack. That was all that's happening there. But speaking of the soundtrack, this is
Oh,
the movie
here we go.
that in America at least, made the Proclaimers.
It did.
One-hit wonder. They were already big in their native Scotland. They'd already had multiple albums and stuff. But so what's her name again? Mary
Stuart Masterson.
Mary Stuart Masterson. I always forget her name. Mary Stuart Masterson.
How to be confused with Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio.
I want to say Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Anyways.
Oh my God, it's 4 of them.
There's so many. So, she's a well-traveled person probably. So she had come across their albums, and this album that had 500 miles on it, Sunshine on Leith, was already like, it was already out for a little while. I think. I want to say
88.
Was it that late? 88.
88. Yeah.
Yeah. So it had been out for a while, and they have they had released other albums since and stuff, but she was playing this often when they would do the painting scenes. That was what she would have playing for herself, just because it was like, okay, you can put on whatever you want. And so that's why they ended up using it for the opening sequence, because the director heard it and really liked the song. And that song became a really, really big single for a little while in the US.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, yeah, that's the first thing I wrote. But we don't just get the song. We get the full song too. It plays the whole song to start the movie.
Yeah.
So I wrote that down, like full song, ? Also, Buster Keaton's back. Like, I didn't really, I got to tell you, I have to get into this because, well, it's not cool, but I didn't give a fuck about Buster Keaton shit and this guy trying to be that guy in 1993. It just I didn't find any of his antics and his amazing stunts, which Johnny Depp did. He really did a lot of this stuff. The fucking plate thing, which you put in the text today. And I didn't give a shit about that. I didn't find it whimsical. I was just annoyed by this. I'm like, get a job. Go do something with your life. It's fucking 1993 right now. Grunge is all the rage. Radio's actually playing good shit right now. What are you doing? I just not a fan, I guess, of that kind of humor. I have a lot of respect for Charlie Chaplin, and some of the messages that he put out in his films were timely and well done.
Do you like those movies? Do you like that early? Do you like the actual stuff? Okay, so then you're not gonna like that.
You're right.
It's an homage to that stuff, and I agree. I think he does a pretty decent job doing that stuff for a modern performer and doing it all himself. But at the same time, it is a little tiresome. I won't argue that.
I respect that he's able to pull that shit off, but I don't give a fuck about it. Those are happening simultaneously.
Although I will say that a lot of it has to do with the Rachel Portman 90 gump horns going on while every time he starts doing his antics. Boom, boom, it's just a classic fucking 90s goof snort music.
There it is. 90s bozo clarinet. I couldn't stop saying it out loud. I was sitting by myself in my mother's bed at 3 a.m. I'm a 43-year-old man. 90s bozo clarinet. Stop.
It may be the most quintessential, perfect example of that bullshit kind of genre of music that permeated those movies of that era.
It is. It so is.
Okay. Here's the problem for me. I love City Lights is one of my top 10 favorite movies. I love all of those silent films. And I remember as a kid when I watched this, I was like, that's the only part I kind of attached myself to until I did the deep dive on all of those actual movies. So when I'm watching this last night and he's just doing the same act, not something similar and clever, just the same thing, I'm like, well, this just it seems like the writer stretching for something for this character to do, and it just didn't play for me.
I appreciate that because it is literally the same stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of it is, if not all of it. But also, remember when he sees Julianne Moore, which very early Julianne Moore performance helped put her on the map. But remember when he sees her, he recites her whole dialogue, and when he watches the movie later with them, he compulsively recites the dialogue with it. I think the dude's on the spectrum, and I think that he mimics things that he likes.
Yeah, I think he might be. Well, I mean, you could think what you want, but I would feel like we're looking at it through today's eyes, and that was definitely not their intention at all. But you're okay, that's fair.
Well, if he was modeled after a real person, perhaps. I mean, that wouldn't have been it would have been cooler to choreograph new pranks and stunts.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone loved this character and they love this movie, not really knowing that stuff had been done before, in my opinion, to a certain extent.
At our age, sure, but people older than us certainly would have. They tried to let us know what was going on because they literally have, like I said earlier, that when he's first introduced, he's got Buster Keaton's face in front of his own face, and it says Buster Keaton across
he
it.
he sleeps in trees all the time. Can you sleep in trees for real? Like,
I've never done it.
I've never slept in a tree. I'd fall off. I would be terrified. I wouldn't be able to sleep. But also, I got to give the movie credit for this. He doesn't play into a typical trope of like, oh, the new roommate is going to be a pain in the ass. He's actually helpful. They just go right into it. I appreciated that a great deal about the movie, that, oh, hey, he cleaned the house right away, and he's like doing good things to help around the house and be a positive influence. Yeah. Cool.
You know, there's this moment when he like takes apart his cousin Mike's car, and I think there's something wrong with your car, and he like kind of spins the hubcap up into the air and it just kind of disappears, right? And there's that moment when they're about to kiss, him and Mary Stuart Masterson, and instead he blows up the balloon and starts making music with it, which, you know, that's superimposed, but still, like in the film's conceit, he's able to do that. And there's something I really like about this character, and the tinge of magic that he has about him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not overt, but there's something just a little tiny bit mystical about the character, and I think they do a good job with that.
Yeah, I mean, the best part is when he's fucking around that head hubcap and like it literally flies away and doesn't land.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's something kind of special about him.
Well, you could always crank up the 90s goof clarinet when things get stale. So
yeah,
that's a fallback for this film. It's nice. So.
Did you guys get worried about how close the house was to the river? Because I found myself repeatedly worrying about how fucking close the house was to the river. I'm like, this house, it's surely flooded by now. It's gone. That house is long gone by now. It's like on the river.
Well, not every river expands. Oceans can expand. Okay, yeah. I didn't think of that at all.
Rivers flood. It's like
I live on a river right now. Maybe I didn't think about it.
Right there. Yeah, but you have a whole yard. Like
That's true.
They have nothing. It's just like it's a little bit of elevation, but it makes me concerned for the homeowners.
Spokane, Washington. What's the flood permanence here or whatever? Like, how often are we seeing these rivers rise?
Oh my God! I mean, I was thinking about. I think this ties. My earliest remembrance of Julianne Moore was in The Fugitive, which came out the same year as this film.
Oh, yeah, me
so
too.
This ties that earliest remembrance for me, because I thought when she showed up as the waitress, as a first-time viewer, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? A Julianne Moore cameo as a waitress? And like, I didn't even know what he was. That's the other thing, is like, when they do that scene there where Sam is basically, turns out Julianne Moore was an actress, the character she's playing, right? And then they watch her movie later on. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. He was reenacting her scene, which was a movie within the movie. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on as a first-time viewer? Totally clueless, which they show me later. So I'm like, oh, I get it now. So maybe that's cool, but I don't know. I didn't really appreciate that all that much, but it was good to see Julianne Moore.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. Like, I did make a note of this problem I'll often have in a movie. And I mean, I have good things to say about this film, but I just keep coming back to this script, because anytime like you've got like a 140-minute movie and like even after an hour, like everything's still just kind of hunky-dory and there's really no conflict. Like, I'm reminded when Sam's in the park and he's doing his fun thing and Benny's getting all excited, like, hey, maybe we can get something going here. This is like really far into the movie where there should be like a really big conflict that everyone is on their tiptoes for, and everyone's still just fucking lollygagging. There's no real drama here. It's just these misfits, and Benny doesn't even seem that affected by it. Like, if Benny is worried immediately about Sam and how his potential relationship with Joon could affect this codependency, you got some conflict and tension. It's just a lot of fucking goofing around.
Okay, a couple of things we haven't mentioned. First off, you didn't mention the whole group home conflict, which was constantly that brewed pretty quickly. And we didn't mention CCH Pounder playing the all-knowing
Pounder.
This cast.
Psychologist.
Or we didn't mention Dan Hedaya either. I mean,
that was literally what I was going to say next.
There's a tide. One soap on the rope, slightly used.
That fucking poker game. God damn, that was too 90s quirky. That was too much.
God.
We're not using money. Everything is a new bet of some type of bargaining thing.
I like the idea, but a snorkel mask is not worth the same as 2 baseball tickets.
Exactly.
It's just not.
Yeah. How could they know what's fair value when they're talking about a human being in a goddamn snorkel mask? I just... And the fact that they stick to it, you can't bet a human being. Yes, you can, apparently.
At first, I thought they were just betting albums. I'm like, that's kind of cool. That kind of makes sense. So then, like, they just kind of went from there. I'm like, oh wait, okay, never mind.
It took me like 10 minutes to understand what in the fuck they were even talking about.
Really?
I'm like, how do you come up with items that you own that quick? I'm like a picture frame. I don't know, like a plate. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem natural.
I don't know. But if I played that way, people.
But I mean, going back, I see your point, Mike, but like there's still like a choice there, and like CCH Pounder herself is like, well, let me know. I'm like, if she's in danger of being committed, that's a much bigger issue. And
why was there a deadline though? Why does she? There's a deadline on this group home. What do you mean there's a deadline?
Because it's a movie. It needs a ticking clock.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I forgot.
There you go.
That's why.
Contrivance.
Well, it's all films are contrivance. All art is contrivance. It's just how well
formulaic, typical.
How well do you mask it? That's the question. I do like, the movie's called Benny and Joon, not Joon and Sam, right?
Yes!
I like that it's the focus is really on maybe even it should be even more so on the relationship between the brother and the sister and the kind of toxic nature that they have. There's this moment in the movie I think is really telling when she is like playing with a napkin by the fan and she waits for him to walk in the room and then she lets go so that it will hit the lit candle and start a fire. And that I think represents like their whole relationship where he feels like he needs to be around her all the time. But like, as Eric said, it's codependency really. Like he doesn't need to be around her as much as, she doesn't need it as much as he thinks. He needs it some. And she also kind of plays into that because like it's been 12 years. It's just the two of them. And it's just, they've gotten like just completely up each other's ass.
And you just nailed that part, which I almost forgot to mention. I couldn't believe the movie's called Benny and Joon, and fucking Johnny Depp wasn't Benny. It blew my mind. I was like, what?
I forget that.
Holy shit. I was stuck on that for like a half hour. I was.
How about that flashback?
Unnecessary? Unnecessary flashback.
Weird timing of the flashback. And like, I mean, I guess maybe they were trying to get some hint of trauma with vehicles, and maybe that's why she freaks out on the bus. But other than that, I'm like, you can't just say this at some point.
That's a good point because she also does a whole thing with the helmet and she braces her feet up on the dashboard, which is a really unsafe way to travel. I think you're right. That probably does have something to do with it. That just didn't really get dialogue. It should have been in dialogue. It should have had give CCH Pounder more to do. Have her have a session. Show us a session with her and Joon, where Joon talks about the accident and talks about being afraid of that kind of stuff. I think,
or maybe early in the film, have them get into a small car accident, so we see like how desperate and serious this situation could be instead of this fucking lollygagging.
You keep sounding like my grandpa. Quit saying lollygagging.
Next
thing you know, you're going to call them whippersnappers.
All right, I'll hit the thesaurus.
Keep the lollygagging. I love it.
No, it's a fun word. I'm just playing.
We use that in sports all the time. Stop lollygagging. Get moving.
Well, I got to say, this is PG. So, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should ease up on this because it's like, it's essentially kind of a family film, even though there's some weird adult stuff going on in it. Like a family could watch this. But I don't know. Maybe it could have benefited from a little bit more edge, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Especially if they're trying to speak to that audience too. You're right. But in the end, I don't know if that matters.
Should we wrap it up?
Unless we missed something big. I think we've kind of hit on the big points of this film.
I think we did. I'll be honest. I usually when I watch a movie, I kind of know afterwards how I feel about it. Like this held up or this didn't hold up pretty much immediately. But this one I kind of struggled with. It's not as good as I remembered it. I'm going to give it it barely holds up. It was comforting to watch in a way. If I didn't have the nostalgia factor going on, I probably wouldn't give it that pass. It does have some pretty deep flaws, but I think that if you love it, I understand loving it. I don't know that I love it, but I do have some affection for it. So I'm going to give it it just barely crosses the border into holding up. Go ahead, Eric.
Smear you. Yeah.
You clearly want to rip this movie apart, Eric. Do it. Unburden yourself.
I don't want to. I've never cared for this movie. It's just very mediocre to me, and there's a lot of potential here. even with these misfit characters, there's more potential to do something a little bit more interesting. Characters are just boring for me. Like, if this movie is just about Benny and Joon and there's no Sam, like, I'm bored because, like, Benny is fucking boring. Like, maybe it's because of Aidan Quinn. In my opinion, he's just very wooden. Like, Woody Harrelson dropped out and got sued for millions of dollars because he signed on and he was going to be Benny until like a week before shooting. And I would have loved Woody Harrelson in this because he's so charismatic and you feel him and he's very blue collar. But
Decent Proposal,
man, he just,
same year. Did he switch it? Is that what he did?
Dude, I didn't even. I forgot to. Did I talk about Indecent? Yeah, I did talk about it. Yeah. But for me, he's boring. I think Mary Stuart Masterson is not good in the film. Like, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the freak out. She's just dull to me. So my two main characters, I don't care. And Johnny Depp does his thing, but I've seen that shtick before, and it comes off as kind of like a gimmick. And the script is just limp. I'm sorry, it doesn't hold up for me.
Straight to the point. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, Indecent Proposal came out the same year, so maybe he was like, I'm going to go film that movie instead because Demi Moore's going to grab my penis. Which I would spend millions of dollars or be sued for millions of dollars if I could have one night with Demi Moore, which is the premise of that film. So I'm not just saying that because I want that to happen. It's a real film. Mary Stuart Masterson sucks in this film, and I didn't mention that, Eric. I'm glad you said that because I don't. So apparently, who knows if this is bullshit, right? But I'm sure you guys might have read it too, that Winona Ryder was going to be in the role, but she dropped out because they broke up, Johnny Depp and her. And if I had seen Depp and Ryder, I think that really would have made this movie better. I honestly think that. I really do.
And Woody Harrelson, that's a different movie, but could have been good.
Oh, man, you're right. Yes, could have, should have, would have. But I wasn't like pissed about her, but I'm just like, there's something about a performance, which again, I disagree with you, Eric, about the Aidan Quinn performance. I really liked his performance, but I thought it was the script that failed him. So maybe she was failed by the script, and I just don't have as much experience or interest in what she is as an actress. I don't know. I'll look into my biases, but there's also there's plenty of montages in this film, right? You know, we got the, like I said, the train yard montage. We got some of your classic movies, like Have a Little Faith in Me.
I love John Hyatt, so I was happy with that.
Well, I love John Hyatt too, but that song's been done. I mean, it's been played in movies. I just know but this was a little newer when he was doing it in 93.
There's only 5 years after the song came out. That's not too bad.
So that's not their fault. You're right. Then we got a Blind Faith cover, but
Mike, that like. Everything. I'm so sorry, but like I gotta say it. Like everything is at its crescendo and its peak, and it's just taken care of by that stupid montage. All you gotta do is walk around in the train yard at dusk, and all the problems go away. You're no longer pissed at Sam.
Yep, there it is.
You just physically attacked him and assaulted him, scared the shit out of him, probably traumatized him. But it's nothing a good stroll around the train yard can't take care of.
Stop and think. What was my responsibility in this? Why wasn't I home? Why did I bring this strange hobo who has no medical training whatsoever into my house to take care of my family?
We don't have time for that. Right. We don't have time for that. So I did write down after the, let's see, 10 minutes in, this movie sucks. I did write that down. But I got a little bit more into it. But in the end, this was not for me. Too much of a mess, you can tell. And classic character motivations versus what's happening and what the story's supposed to be about. It's all fucked up, and it's all just kind of scatterbrained. And there's good moments. You know, you can find a lot of good moments in a lot of shitty movies. I'm not saying it's a shitty movie, but this one doesn't hold up for me.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, when I myself, and I brought it to the floor, and I'm giving it 51%. I kind of assumed that it was gonna not do that great. So maybe not auspicious for the year of 2024 for our show, but it is auspicious for us to finally all be together, the three of us actually podcasting. And who is next on this adventure? Is it Eric?
That's right.
Hey, I remembered the order of my life.
Good job. You still got it.
Well, let's cut the bullshit. We're going to 1992.
The fuck out of me.
Go to a year backwards? 1 year prior. Okay.
Going back to 1992 to have a little bit of fun. You know, I looked back very fondly on our Demolition Man episode. And in fact, when I look back at the roster of our previous episodes, anytime we do an action movie, I end up really liking the episode. We don't do them all the time, but when we do, they're always a lot of fun. And I decided to take a look at a film that made a splash when it came out in 1992, but I'll be damned if I have even ever heard anybody mention it in like 30 years.
Under Siege?
Tommy Lee Jones?
No. No, not Under Siege.
Shit, I thought I had it.
We both thought Under Siege.
No.
Oh, he did?
You look up that Eric Eleniak image on your own. We're not doing Under Siege.
Right there at Demi Moore, man. Time. Wow. Good God.
But like I said, no one talks about the movie, and yet it was a hit. Director Roland Emmerich's first big splash in the United States went on to Independence Day and Godzilla. Universal Soldier. Remember this movie?
I've never seen it.
Barely. I remember it was no Cyborg.
We're going to find out.
All right.
I remember like a headset.
Yeah, the headset. Yeah, the headset. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. Like that headset, sci-fi. It could be fun.
I was all about Van Damme, and this is like where it kind of slowly stopped because I was hitting puberty or something. I don't know. Maybe I should have been more into it. But okay. Universal Soldier. Cool. Good call, dude. I like this. Right. Interesting. This is a nice change of pace. Still in the same era. And that's what we'll do next week. Sim and I, 2024, we're back. We're all united. We're ready to go. And I got a good feeling about this year. I think we'll have some good times. I had a great time doing this episode. I hope you all did too. cinemaninepod@gmail.com and all that stuff in between. If you got an email that you think could top Chad's, send it in. We'd love to hear it. Thank you, Chad. Thank you for the laughter. Eric, Travis, Mike, I'm out of here.